Welcome back to Tabletop Assault. I'm Ross, and today I'm going to be doing a 5-unit highlight of the Thousand Suns datasheets. Now, important thing to preference this with is we don't know the points yet, or at the point of me filming this, I don't know the points yet. So can't really discuss any of that, but we do get to see the units, how they work, do they have good abilities on them, and how will they synergize well with the Thousand Suns. So with that, let's have a look at the units. Starting off, we're going to have an old favourite, and that is the Scarab Occult Terminators. So in terms of their stats, they're pretty standard for a Terminator, which is good survivability. We have toughness 5, 2 up save, 4 up invul, generally pretty good. Range ability, the Hellfire Missile Pack and Soul Reaper I believe can still be on the same model, which fantastic, just means if you suffer casualties, you are keeping them all in one model so that when they whittle down it's one of the latter ones to go. The Infernal Combi Bolters are reduced AP but still pretty good. And in terms of melee, they're kind of what you'd expect, but they are a little bit low in strength compared to Power Fist. Might be higher strength, though less to hit. Don't know how I feel on that one. And then in terms of abilities, they do have Cabal, which is you get a Cabal point of 1 on the Sorcerer, and they do have Deep Strike. They have Implacable Guardians, which essentially while the Psyker is in the unit, any attacks on them that the strength is higher than their toughness, the attack gets -1 to wound on them, which is quite good. I'd almost prefer them just having -1 to wound or something a little bit simpler, but when you have defensive sort of abilities on tough units like Terminators, it can really rack up. So this one does work out quite well. Generally I think a pretty decent anchor unit. They are tough, reducing wound rolls if the strength of the attack is higher, and the 4 up invul save. Also plenty of combinations to make them a bit deadlier. In rapid fire there are potentially 40 shots, make them psychic and strength 5. You can then reroll hits and wounds, possibly Magnus nearby for more accuracy and better wounding. And then because they're psychic, you could also get the ability to make them dev wounds. So that would really be a big blow to your opponent. Possibly also you could remove the armor save from your opponent, but then you might getting, that's with Cabal abilities, you might be getting to overkill on that one. You could also take a Terminator Sorcerer in the unit for lethal hits and reroll hit rolls of 1 on a debuff on an enemy unit. Generally there's a lot here, and that's what you're going to see with this sort of codex, is there's a lot of synergistic abilities on them. And so you can see here in terms of combination, that is a lot to deal out, but that could healthily, with the law of those combinations, delete a unit quite easily, or at least cause a significant amount of damage. I quite like it, I think that's pretty good. Following up the Scarab Occult, we will discuss a unit that can't even join them, and that is the Exalted Sorcerer on disc. One thing I'd say about here is that when it comes to Sorcerer sort of HQ units, they all have different abilities, different things they can do, so there's quite, and they're all quite interesting, so there's a number of choices here. But I've decided to go with the one with the disc. Now in terms of stats, very fast, 12 inches, that's moving lightning speed. Toughness is a bit low for it being mounted, but I suppose it's not a bike or anything. In terms of weapons, ranged is okay, 18-inch flamer is not bad, swings a little bit in value, d6 random attacks, d3 random damage, strength 6, AP -2 is not bad in and itself. And melee, I'd almost always take the force weapon, pretty much always. Abilities, it has Cabal 2, which will give you your 2 Cabal points. There is Arcane Shield, which gives 4 up invul for the unit, so better protection there. And then Binding Tendrils, which is the interesting part. At the end of the movement phase, select an enemy unit within 18 inches and roll a d6. On a 1, the Psyker suffers d3 mortal wounds, so you don't want a 1. 2+, enemy unit suffers half movement, advance and charge till your next movement phase. A decent addition to rubrics. Many of Sorcerers, as I said, are good choices. However, you're mainly taking this for that half movement, advance and charge, which can be incredibly crippling towards enemy units. Controlling the board is essential, and it really just makes the threat range of many units just go down significantly. On something a little bit different, I'm going to go with Tzaangor Enlightened. So Tzaangor Enlightened are very fast. They move at 10 inches, something I feel is very lacking with Thousand Suns forces, specifically mine. I don't tend to include so many fast units. Their weapons, the range, I like the Farcaster. Overall good, it has precision, which will help to take out supporting characters. Melee is not good, even the Divine Spear is only damage 1. Abilities, you have Malign Trickery, once per turn, when an enemy ends a normal move, advance or fall back, within 9 inches, if not in engagement range, these guys can make a normal move d6 inches. Some overall thought for these guys is speed is key. Moving across the field is, as fast as possible. Really helps you take objectives, which I've had a problem with Thousand Suns. You can possibly move multiple times with Malign Trickery. It's not just a once per game thing, it's once per turn, so that could happen in your turn. If, for instance, your opponent moves, then you can maybe move. I believe that can work, and then on your opponent's turn, when they actually make a move, you can make a move. You get the idea. Fate Caster is good for possibly taking out characters with low wounds, so use those great bolts to take them out. I feel it does need to be teamed up with Shaman though, so that you get the 5-up Funeral Pain and the +1 to hit, which improves this unit phenomenally. Shaman can also hold the Athena Scroll, so that you can generate the extra Cabal point. These guys aren't going to get in combat. You really want to sort of move them around the field, either getting onto points or going after characters, but keeping their distance. So I feel that might be a good unit to take there. Just hope no one realises what you're doing and tries to take them out themselves, because they're not the most survivable. Though I suppose with the 5-up Funeral Pain and the 5-up save might keep them going for a wee bit. And to a unit that I really didn't think, when I saw it come into the Thousand Suns forces in the past, I thought it was really weird, but apparently this thing has had quite a bit of a glow up. It's the Mutalith Vortex Beast. So in terms of stats, fast, 10 inches, that's great. Quite tough, toughness 10, 13 wounds, 5-up invul, 5-up Funeral Pain, that'll help it keep going for quite a wee bit there. In terms of weapons, it's got a variety of shots for different situations. The blast does seem to be excellent though. D6 +3, hitting on 3, strength 9, -2, 2 damage. Yep, with blast, could be potentially very, very good. And melee is a little bit strange here. I'd like at least -1 AP on those 15 attacks, but then again it is 15 attacks. But it is good that it does have a sweep and strike option. In terms of abilities, it has Mutating Vortex, which is an aura. At the end of your movement phase, roll a d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches. 2 to 3, that unit suffers a mortal wound. On a 4 to 5, it's d3 mortal wounds, and on a 6, it's d6 mortal wounds. Each unit affected also must take a battle shock test. And Immaterial Flare, which is an aura ability, 6-inch friendly psychers, double range of rituals. Overall thoughts, this one a really nice monster here. Good bit of survivability with that invul and Funeral Pain. Ranged options I really like the flexibility of there, but also even in combat there is flexibility there as well. Getting up and close for the melee, as I said, is pretty good, but you also got those mortal wounds. If your opponent is clumping up, they're going to feel this a little bit more, but it's also a big base of a monster, which in essence means you have a wider area of which you might be able to get more units in that 6-inch radius and then cause some mortal wounds. So I'm interested to see how this one goes. A lot of people have been saying this is going to be looking pretty good. So I'm intrigued to hear what people think. Am I missing something else to this? Overall, I think it's pretty good, I suppose, in terms of abilities and everything. But in terms of some other things, I just wish that the Maw had AP -1 on it. I just really wish there was a wee bit more to there. Let me know what you think. And finally, of course, we come to Magnus the Red, Primarch of the Thousand Suns. And frankly, I'd probably say quite a bit of, he was not bad, just his survivability was a problem in the previous edition. I'd say in a lot of ways he has improved. So in terms of stats, toughness is greatly increased, way up to 11 now. 2-up save, slightly slower, 4-up invul, yep, pretty good. Ranged weapons, they are devastating. He can do a fair bit of bombardment flying by. He's got the Gavis of Madness, which is devastating wounds, 3d3, Bliss Skill 2, strength 9, -2, 3 damage, that's a lot in itself. Then Tzeentch's Firestorm, which is a blast weapon, d6 +3, Bliss Skill 2, strength 5, -1, 2 damage. So in terms of ranged, that's already a monster profile in on itself. Then we have melee, which he's also good at. He has strike and a sweep option there. Both psychic, which synergizes really well with some other stuff. The strike is devastating wounds, which is good, though there are other ways to get devastating wounds there, just mainly through the sort of abilities they have for the Cult of Magic detachment. But still, really nice to have it straight off the bat. And in both of these, their stats sim, I think they are fantastic as well. Maybe the sweep could have been 2 damage, but I think you're sort of switching that out for having such strong ranged potential for him as well. In terms of abilities, he gives 4 Cabal points, which is good. He also has option of deep striking. It's a 6-inch aura he's got, which is Psychers get +1 to hit and wound on psychic attacks. Choose it, and then you've got the choose ability at the start of the battle round, which we've seen with many units similar to this, which is -1 damage on himself, excluding psychic attacks. Opponent shooting phase, enemy unit within 24 inches and visible, turning their ranged weapons into hazardous. I think that's a bit more situation than that one. Keep in mind when they do fire, it's say if I believe a unit, if they've got say 3 guns on them, or at least a model, they've got 3 guns on them, they have to roll hazardous for all of them if they fire, so let me know if that's right. And then 6-inch order, add 2 to Thousand Suns units. So overall thoughts, I've tried to summarise this a wee bit here. Survivability, toughness 11, save 2+, wound 16, invul 4, -1 damage, though excluding psychic abilities. Can reroll save from Cabal power, can be done twice with the enhancement. Damage 0 stratagem, general reroll stratagem, possibly starting deep strike if there's a gun line threatening Magnus. I think that's all of it there, let me know. And then offensive abilities, you've got the Cabal turn off armor save, reroll hit and wounds for 1 command point because he's got psychic weaponry. He's also, I believe, affected by his own +1 to hit and +1 to wound, so you don't really need to worry if he does get bracketed slightly. He is still getting a good bit of bonuses there. And then you also do have the army wide rule as well for lethal hits. Well, this is not for army wide, it is army wide, but it's more for the Occult of Magic. Lethal hits, sustained hits, devastating wounds, etc. Overall, to make Magnus work, there is a bit of investment. You do need to think about survivability, but there is plenty of things that can be used to keep him going. Mainly that reroll save from the Cabal points. You've got the damage 0 stratagem, which is crazy good. You've got the reroll strat for his invul save. Yeah, there's plenty of potential with Magnus here. It's no longer a case of if he got bracketed at low wounds, he's a lot less efficient. At 1 wound, he is still going to be an absolute monster in a turn. So I see a lot of potential when it comes to Magnus the Red, which is fantastic. Always love to field Magnus when I take out Thousand Suns. And that is it for 5 unit highlights when it comes to the Thousand Suns. Although the Thousand Suns have a little bit of a restricted list of units that they can use in a lot of ways, I actually see a huge amount of potential for a lot of the units here. They have thought about the secondary abilities that the units provide because there's a lot of HQ choices and many of them are really useful. I did have to think about the choices I wanted to include here, specifically on the Sorcerer side, which one was the best one I wanted to include in this. And I'll stop with the Exalted Sorcerer, but then again, I am happy with all the choices here. I do think they are huge potential there. Rubric Marines themselves are very good. I didn't include them here because you are going to be using Rubric Marines. That's more or less a given in this force. But I also wanted to include Tzaangors as well because I do like the Enlightened. Not used them myself yet, but I do think they are quite a cool unit and I see potential behind them. So thanks again for watching. Please comment, share, like and subscribe, and we'll see you on our Tabletop Assault Battle Report.